Hi. Today I'll be covering the changes to the champion point system for Blackwood that we recently learned about in the patch notes. I did my full patch note review over on Twitch, but instead of uploading that here, I'll be breaking down the notes into specific sections, which I'll post different videos on. So this will be my YouTube version of the patch note review, but a little more organized instead of an initial reaction video. And I'll have links to the other sections of it down in the description if you're interested in those. So we'll go through the specific changes, including the new slottable nodes and the nerfs to the passive nodes, and then take a look at the big picture summary of exactly what we lost from the champion system and how many points we'll need to hit some different milestones. I will be doing an updated champion point leveling guide for Blackwood as well, but I'll wait until a little closer to release in case we see any more changes. Alright, let's get into it. So the general idea for the changes in this patch was to lower the overall amount of champion points needed by lowering the different tiers for the passives. This didn't affect the slotted ones. We actually gained 4 new healing and 2 new DPS slottables. Most of those are still 5 tiers and 50 points required each, but instead they lowered the tiers required for many of the passives that you don't need to slot. They did this to decrease our overall power, but shouldn't be cause for too much concern, as the majority of our power in the champion points, especially as a PvE damage dealer, does lie in the slotted nodes. And if you're worrying about taking more damage, they actually address that by buffing the preparation passive up to 10%, so we'll actually have the same total mitigation from the blue tree as before, with less points required to get there, but I'll go further into that in a bit. First, let's go into the new slottables. For DPS, we have the return of Master at Arms. This is in the top right tree and gives you 10% bonus damage to your direct damage attacks at max rank. Now this could be single target direct damage or AoE direct damage, both. It's really nice that they added this back, as classes that are a little less dot heavy and focus more on direct damage were finding themselves missing this passive quite a bit from the old champion point system. But really, I think a lot of setups will benefit from this one. Next, we have Weapons Expert. This is a 15% boost to light and heavy attack damage at max rank. You'll find this one in the sub-tree on the right that has piercing in it. I'm a little undecided on this one for PvE at the moment. I don't think the bonus is quite high enough to warrant slotting it over some of the other passives, but there may be some situations where it could be worth it. Maybe builds that are really reliant on heavy attacks. I'm not sure. We'll see though. It will definitely be worth testing out, especially on classes that might not have as much of a specific category of damage like dots or AoE. For the new Healing Slottables, first we have Enlivening Overflow. Overhealing yourself or an ally grants them health, magicka, and stamina recovery equal to 0.5% of your max magicka for 6 seconds, up to a cap of 150. This effect can occur once every 12 seconds per target. This one seems really nice, and I think will be a staple in most healer setups now. Overhealing happens all the time, so it's pretty much just going to add free recovery to the group. Since it only has a 50% uptime, it does come out to only 75 recovery of each stat, but still will be a nice little boost. And it shouldn't be a problem hitting that cap of 150, as you only need 30k magicka for that. Next, we have From the Brink. Healing yourself or a target under 25% health grants them a damage shield that absorbs 2200 damage per second for 6 seconds, 30-second cooldown per target. So this is an 11k shield at max rank. This is pretty nice too. Depending on what other slottables you need, it might not make its way into all of your setups, but this could be especially nice for progressing through no-death challenges or trying to just make it through difficult content for the first time. It won't help with one-shots, but with our generally higher health pools nowadays, this does have a little bit larger window to operate in than it would have in some of the previous patches. So pretty cool stuff. I really like the idea of this one. Next up is Hope Infusion. Healing yourself or an ally under 50% health grants them minor heroism. Duration is based on your magicka recovery, granting 1 second for every 300 recovery. And this effect can occur once every 10 seconds per target. So this is just one stage. You'll need all 50 points to activate it. Another nice passive though. There are a lot of fights where it probably won't activate too often unless people are standing in stuff they shouldn't be, but another nice little boost in places where there's a lot of constant outgoing damage. Minor heroism isn't huge, but it's definitely a nice little boost to have. Another interesting thing here is that there doesn't appear to be a cap on the duration. There is a limit on how often you can proc it per target, but not on how long it can go for. That will scale with your recovery. So 300 mag recovery gets you 1 second, 1500 will give you 5 seconds, 3000 recovery will give you 10 seconds, and so on. So most ordinary recovery levels for healers won't have this activated for a super long time, but something interesting to keep an eye on. No idea if this would end up affecting how much healers decide to put into their recovery stats. And finally, we have Salve of Renewal. When you remove a negative effect from yourself or an ally, you heal them and allies within an 8-meter radius of them for 1280 health per stage. So this goes up to 6400 total healing. I don't feel as strongly about this one as the others, at least for PvE. We generally have strong enough heals going anyways, where I don't think this would be super necessary, but maybe there's a fight here and there where it could be used to help out, like the opening Raptors bosses and Halls of Fabrication. So I'll just defer to the healers on this one. Okay, now for everyone's favorite section, the tier adjustments, aka the nerfs. We'll start with the green tree since not much happened over there. Just some bug fixes and then a fix to the Steadfast enchantment passive that unintentionally allowed you to not have to recharge your weapons at all. They reduced the bonus per stage to 10% down from 20% as the passive was not meant to invalidate the need to recharge enchantments, but rather effectively double their charge. I kind of thought this was the case originally when I saw the passive, and then I realized that it actually completely removed the need to recharge your weapons. I thought it was a little odd that a CP passive node would be strong enough to completely negate an in-game mechanic like that, but this is still going to be nice to have, but not crazy OP like it was before. So the tiers were not lowered on this green craft tree like they were on the others though, so this will likely still take quite a bit of leveling to fill out everything you need. Alright, now we'll go on to the fitness tree. So the following passives went from 4 stages needed to max them out down to 2 stages needed. Bashing Brutality went from 240 increased bash damage down to 120 and the cost from 40 to 20. Defiance went from 440 break free cost reduction down to 220 and the cost from 40 to 20. Hasty went from 8% sprint speed down to 4% and the cost from 32 to 16. Hero's Vigor went from 1120 health down to 560 health and the cost from 40 to 20. Sprinter went from 80 cost reduction for sprint to 40 cost reduction and the CP cost from 40 to 20. Tireless Guardian from 80 block cost reduction down to 40 and the CP cost from 40 to 20. And then these went from 3 stages needed to max them out down to 2 stages needed. So Fortification, Savage Defense, and Tumbling, all from 45 cost down to 30. And then Fortification is 6% block mitigation down to 4%. Savage Defense is 135 block cost reduction down to 90. And Tumbling 360 roll dodge cost reduction down to 240. And then the last two, Nimble Protector and Tempered Soul, went from 5 stages down to 2 stages. So Nimble Protector was 15% movement speed while blocking is now 6%, and the CP cost from 15 down to 6. And then Tempered Soul, Resurrect with 25% more resources, is now 10% more resources, and the CP cost went from 125 down to 50. So I'll go through a summary of everything that we're losing and also how many points are needed total later on in the video. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to the blue tree. So we have several of our passives going from 4 stages needed to max them out down to 2 stages. First, we'll go through the ones that affect our damage, and these will all be going from 40 CP cost down to 20. So Eldritch Insight will be going from 1040 Magicka down to 520, Tireless Discipline from 1040 Stamina down to 520, Precision from 640 Critical down to 320, Piercing from 1400 Penetration down to 700. And then for the damage reduction nodes, for Preparation, we're going from 8% damage reduction up to 10%. So this one's really cool, actually. Only half the points are needed here, and it's also a slight boost to how much damage we're reducing. So this one, remember, is only against PvE enemies, but this is done to offset the next two. So Hardy will be going from 4% physical damage reduction down to 2%, and Elemental Aegis from 4% down to 2%. So with those two down 2% and the Preparation one up to 10%, we'll have the same exact total mitigation here in the blue tree as we did with Flames of Ambition. And instead of needing 120 points to fill these out, which is 360 total CP gained, we only need 60 points, which is 180 total CP gained. I think this one got overlooked a little bit by a lot of people that read through the patch notes, but this one is pretty nice. And then finally for the healing passive nodes, Quick Recovery went from 4% healing received down to 2%, and then Blessed from 4% healing done down to 2%. So yes, lots of nerfs overall in the champion points, but really lots of tiny nerfs. So let's take a look at the big picture of what we lost from each tree. So we'll stay in the Warfare tree for now. So this is what we lost total from our damage. We lost 520 Magicka, 520 Stamina, 320 Crit, and 700 Offensive Penetration. So this will probably come out to only like a maybe 2 to 3% nerf overall, if that. These are essentially just under half a set bonus each on a piece of gear. And then as we said earlier, the mitigation is a wash. It's exactly the same. And then for healing, we'll be losing 2% healing received and 2% healing done. So then for the fitness tree, for mitigation, we're losing 560 health and 2% block mitigation. For our speed, we're losing 4% sprint speed and 9% movement speed while blocking. And then for cost reduction, we're losing 220 break free cost reduction, 40 sprint, 40 block, 45 bash cost reduction, 120 roll dodge cost reduction. And then some other miscellaneous stats we're losing, 120 bash damage and 15% extra resources when resurrecting. So overall, big picture, not really that much lost. It seems like a bit when you initially read through it because there are a lot of changes, but overall these bonuses were all very small already to begin with. And the one big one, preparation, was actually increased a tiny bit. So I think my biggest gripe isn't really with the overall power we lost, but with the current state of the available passives in the champion points. The bonuses are so small now, it doesn't feel very exciting to unlock new ones as they won't have hardly any effect on your build. Even having every damage dealing passive you can, it's only a very small DPS gain as most of the power we get comes from the nodes that we slot. I do like that the points needed overall has come down a bit, and I think that will make it a little less daunting for newer players. So let's take a look at a few examples of champion point levels to hit certain goals. So with the fitness tree, we'll get our health maxed out at 414 CP, we'll get our mitigation including block mitigation maxed out at 834 CP, and then all PvE related stats will be done with at 1416 CP. So this is quite a bit lower than last patch. And then for the fitness tree, we'll get the majority of our damage, all of our slottables filled in at 690 CP. We'll get full damage plus 60% status effect chance at 990 CP. Full damage and most of our resistances, so that'll be with the preparation passive, that's at 1080 CP. And then full damage and all of our resistances at 1200 CP. And then everything including healing done, healing received, and our off resource at 1560 CP. So overall, I think the total numbers needed are in a pretty decent spot. Again, I think the biggest thing for me is how unexciting the passives feel to unlock. The slotted nodes are pretty good, but as a damage dealer, they still feel a little bit bland to me. They are powerful, but just generic buffs that don't feel super exciting. I really like what they did with the new healer ones, and I would love to see something like that for the damage dealer ones too, to make for some more interesting options that might be a little more situational instead of just always slotting flat damage gains. Alright, that's gonna do it for this one. Like I said, I will be doing a full CP leveling guide like I did with Flames of Ambition, but I'll wait a little closer to the patch dropping in case there are some more changes to the system in the coming weeks. So I hope this video helps show the big picture of the CP adjustments. Let me know what you guys think about the current state of the champion point system. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see how you can support the channel, I'll have a link in the description below. Also a special thanks to Nicholas, Simon, and the Privy League Guild on PlayStation's European server. I appreciate you all stopping by. See you in the next one. Bye.